Well, it's time to get an update on the day's business news, and Yuka Royer joins us. Hi, Yuka.
Hi, Monty.
So we're starting off here in France, where a long-delayed nuclear project in the west of the country may finally see the light of day.
Well, Monty, this is about a new generation EPR reactor that's being built at Flamanville nuclear plant in Normandy. Now, construction began 15 years ago and was meant to be completed by 2012, but it's been plagued by repeated delays while the cost ballooned. France's state-run utility EDF says it's confident the reactor will be online by the end of next year, as France races to meet its target of achieving carbon neutrality by 2050. Catherine Viette has more.
Repeated delays, faulty equipment. The Flamanville nuclear reactor has a troubled reputation. France's energy company EDF says those issues have been addressed and insists the plant is nearly ready to go online.
More than 95% of the entire plant is completed. Our goal is to finish all the rest in order to load the reactor in the second quarter of 2023.
Projected to go into service in 2012, it's more than a decade behind schedule. Problems surfaced very quickly: cracks in the construction, faulty welding, and poor quality control. Originally estimated to cost 3.3 billion euros, with each new delay, the price spiraled. It's believed the final bill will be nearly 13 billion euros. EDF says it will be able to bring the plant online by the end of 2023 and start producing electricity at the facility. But these issues have impacted the bottom line.
There are tens of billions of euros for the maintenance of existing reactors, plus investments in new EPRs, and the debt is a little under 43 billion euros. So we're faced with an industrial flagship that is basically in financial difficulty.
EDF is planning to build 6 more EPR generation reactors as part of the government's efforts to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050.
And so the World Trade Organization has extended its meeting by another day to hash out a deal on trade rules and other things.
On new trade rules. Well, the WTO takes decision by consensus, so just one objection can block a deal. So that's what's been happening in Geneva this week, where ministers have been holding high-level talks for the first time in nearly 5 years. It was meant to close on Wednesday, but WTO officials are keeping their hopes for reaching agreement on new trade rules on food security, fishing and vaccines. India and other developing countries have been pushing for a waiver of intellectual property rights for pharmaceutical products, resulting in a deadlock.
Significant progress has been made. We're not far from agreements on many of these topics, and they determined that there was value in keeping ministers in town a little bit longer. It's not an easy decision to make, of course. People have travel plans. People want to get out of here. But the determination was there are good prospects for agreements, and that talks should continue. And they are continuing. They're taking place intensively.
And we thought we were done with COVID, but meanwhile, India recorded more than 12,000 new cases. That's a 40% jump in a single day.
Yeah, well, Monty, it's still a small number, though, compared to the early days of the pandemic when the country of 1.4 billion inhabitants was very badly hit. But digital technology back then helped stave off a deep crisis. Under Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the government has been focusing on digitizing India and encouraging people to go cashless. A universal payment system launched 6 years ago has been growing in popularity. A recent report said 2 out of 3 transactions in the country would be digital by 2026. Now, on the sidelines of the VivaTech Expo being held here in Paris, we asked India's IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnaw about how the country is looking to bring its tech to Europe and beyond.
One of the biggest things that India has created is a unified payment interface. So close to 5.5 billion transactions every month. Huge and absolutely flawless system. So that is where I think that is a system, it is an open system, freely available to the world. Many countries have already signed MOU, and today one French organization has also signed MOU for that. We think that the supply chain has to be more resilient, and the world needs a global, trusted supply supply chain partner, and we believe that India can be that. So for example, semiconductor chips. India is starting out on a very thought through and a 10-year, 20-year horizon semiconductor program. We believe that countries in Europe should use this crisis and create an opportunity by partnering with India and developing a trusted global supply chain.
So, Yuka, what can you tell us about the day's trading action?
Well, contrary to Wall Street shares that rallied after the US Federal Reserve raised the interest rate, here in Europe, the picture is much different. European shares accelerated losses this Thursday after opening only mildly in the negative territory. Major indices are now down firmly by over 2% at midday. Meanwhile, the Bank of England has just raised its benchmark rate by another quarter percentage point, bringing the rate to 1.25%. It's the central bank's fifth rate increase since December. Officials say they will act with force if needed to fight inflation, as they forecast the UK's economy to contract 0.3% in the second quarter of this year.
And so meanwhile, the summer holiday season is almost, it certainly feels like it's summer already, but post-pandemic disruptions continue to cast a shadow.
That's right. Well, the COVID crisis had a huge impact on the job market everywhere, but especially in the tourism and hospitality sectors. Croatia is no exception. Faced with a chronic shortage of workers, it's recruiting people in neighboring countries to try to fill the gap. Now, tourism is a major source of income for the Balkan state, making up a sizable chunk of the economy.
Tourists are again heading to Croatia after 2 years of pandemic restrictions limited travel. The country is eager to welcome back the visitors, as the industry accounts for 1/5 of its economy. But as tourism rebounds, the Adriatic nation faces a problem, a chronic shortage of workers.
The workforce problem is both global and long-term. In Croatia, we become focused on the worker shortage when tourist season arrives, but it is present the whole year and in all economic sectors, not only in tourism.
Needing to fill at least 10,000 jobs in the tourism sector, Croatia has begun recruiting people abroad and in the neighboring Balkan countries. For 21-year-old Serbian waiter David Trajanovic, the job benefits are obvious.
I was advised by friends who recommended working here for the finances, a better salary, some good fun, summer, the seaside.
During COVID lockdowns, many catering and tourism workers were forced to look for employment in other industries, and now they're choosing not to return to their former jobs. So far this year, Croatia has issued more than 51,000 work permits for foreign nationals, and it expects that number to double by the end of 2022. The country is not alone in its worker shortage. Other top tourist destinations in Europe, like France, Spain, and Greece, are also struggling to fill empty positions.
And a lot of these places are hoping that tourism helps the economy recover.
And pictures like this actually make you really want to, really dream of seaside paradise like that.
Yeah, especially when it's so hot outside.
When it's so hot outside here in Paris.
Okay, Yuka, thanks so much. That's it for now. Stay tuned for more world news coming up here on France 24.